Hi, I'm Deborah Dahab, your expat coach and intercultural psychologist. Today we're going to talk about moving overseas as a single person. So one day, I was starting a session with a client named Claire, not her real name, just for fiction, I will tell it here. Claire, she was a bit distraught. She was, I could see she was really nervous. And so we talked, and I asked her what was wrong. And she said, you know what? Um, I just had the weirdest experience. And she started to explain to me that she had been in a doctor's appointment and just for routine, tests, nothing major. And she started to fill out the form. And when it came to that field where you have to put your contact information, your emergency contact information, so a number and a name of someone who they could contact in case of an emergency, she said she froze. She said, I don't have an emergency contact. I'm here all alone. And that gave her a deep sense of loneliness. And we walked through it, we talked through it. And in the end, Claire came to terms with some issues regarding being a single person in a foreign country. And some of you might be planning for your next trip abroad. Some of you might be already in a trip abroad as a single person. So one side we think about as the positive is that it's freedom, it's independence. You can do whatever you want, you can travel, you can do anything, which is great. And it's true too, right? However, there is also the flip side. You can get really lonely. And if you get sick or if you need something, you might not have people to help you because you haven't been around long enough to make meaningful and lasting connections. Does that make sense to you? Does that resonate? I know it does with me when I was single and living abroad. So it's really important to understand these emotions and to acknowledge them because they're absolutely normal. It's really normal for you to feel lonely sometimes. And it's really normal for you to get excited for freedom. However, sometimes we get caught up in the negative and we get really down, especially in the case of getting sick or something. Now, it's important to acknowledge that. That's the first part, right? And everything has to start with awareness. So the first thing I would say is that if you're planning to move as a single person, acknowledge that and acknowledge the feelings and know that they will come because they will. And once they do, you won't be sidetracked by them. You say, okay, I'm feeling lonely. That's quite normal. Do that before you move. Acknowledge this process before you even make your move. And can be quite challenging because when we're preparing our move, we want to think about the positives only, right? The freedom, the excitement. Save some time to think about, okay, what's going to happen if I need help? How am I going to deal with that? The second part I would tell you is that build your support system in your social network even before you move. So that nowadays with social media is quite easy. In fact, there are so many meetups, there are so many places to meet new people. And know that you're going to meet a lot of people. And maybe a handful will be interesting and maybe 2 or 3 will evolve to a friendship. And that's okay. Sometimes we expect that we're going to make tons of friends, and sometimes that doesn't happen, and that's okay, right? It takes time to build friendships. It takes time. It takes effort. It takes, going out for coffee many times and talking about your life, and it takes time. So give it time. Don't expect in 2 or 3 days to have lifelong friends. It might happen if you're lucky, but usually not the norm. That's why I tell people to prepare this before they move. So start engaging in Facebook groups or other social media that you would like to use, and interact, ask questions, understand, the types of events that happen and what's resonates with you. And the last tip I would give you regarding being a single person is kind of, how could I put it? Dare to befriend the unfamiliar. So if you usually have a type of friend, for example, you're a very outdoorsy person and you like hiking and, outdoor stuff, you will tend to navigate towards people who have the same preferences because you have things to talk about. And if someone is a bookworm and likes to be in the library all the time, you might not talk to that person as much, right? So dare to befriend the unfamiliar. Dare to talk to that person who likes being in the library all the time. You probably will find things in common. Just give yourself permission to talk to people that you usually wouldn't talk to, because we all have our biases. We all have our prejudices and preconceptions, and that's unconscious. And that will accompany us no matter where we go. If you consciously dare and even challenge yourself to talk to people you usually wouldn't, that can enrich your life in so many ways I can't even describe. You might even start to explore a whole new part of life that you had no idea existed, just because you started to be friends with someone that has absolutely nothing to do with the people you usually are friends with. I hope this makes sense to you, and I would like to ask you to comment on this. What do you think? Do you think these suggestions to make new friends are worthwhile? Do you have other suggestions? How would you help other expats make friends in a foreign country being a single person? So if you like this video, please subscribe, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.